a Torah Anytime original series.
I'm standing here in front of the former home of a man named George Eastman. Now, George Eastman was once one of the wealthiest people on the planet, and he lived in Rochester, New York, where he started his camera company called Kodak. Now, before Eastman came along, pictures were very complicated and expensive and annoying to produce. And Eastman simplified them, where everyone could have a camera, and developing them into pictures was much easier. In 1888, he introduced the Kodak camera, making photography accessible to the masses, and he had his slogan, "You press the button and we do the rest." And by 1892, Eastman had transformed his company into Eastman Kodak, a name that would become synonymous with photography and one of the most successful companies in modern history. Let's go take a look at his house. Look at the intricate design. You know that you're really rich when your house doesn't have just one garden, it has a bunch. Another pretty tall tell sign that you're super rich is if your house has an elephant in it, or blankets made out of cheetahs, or 7-foot paintings. And if you're wondering if the elephant is real, it is, and Mr. Eastman shot it himself in Africa and brought it back as a trophy. One thing I will say about the bathroom of a man who had billions of dollars, one of the wealthiest people in the entire world, doesn't come close to our bathrooms. Behind me, it looks like just a wall with slots in it, a design, but really, it is to allow the organ that was installed behind that wall to emit sound to the rest of the house. It was the largest residential organ in the entire world. Let me show it to you. So behind that wall, there would be an organ player that would play the organ for the rest of the house. If you used to want to take a picture, it had to be developed by a monster like that. Kodak's company was so successful that its headquarters was this massive buildings complex where you could still see the Kodak sign high above it. Eastman was a visionary. He understood the power of images and the importance of preserving memories, and under his leadership, Kodak became a global powerhouse, employing over 140,000 people at its peak and holding a market value of $30 billion. That's over 100 billion in today's money. Let me show you where he used to make his cameras. Behind me is called Kodak Park. It was the epicenter of the Kodak world, and the factories here produced his cameras. It was at one point one of the largest industrial complexes in the entire world. It spanned 13,000 acres. It had factories and labs and rail lines sprawled out over more than 2 miles. It comprised of 150 major buildings. It was essentially a city within a city. It was so big, it had its own fire department and power plant and water treatment center. It was about as big as a company can be. At its zenith, Kodak controlled 90% of the film market and 85% of all camera sales in the entire United States. Everything in photography ran through this place. If you had a camera, film, paper, it came from Kodak. The company didn't just sell products, it sold a revolution. Kodak invented the roll film, the brownie camera, and the idea that anyone could capture life, they just needed a camera. They didn't just dominate the market, they created it. By the 1970s and 80s, they were worth billions and billions of dollars, one of the richest, most powerful companies on earth. If light and memory were currency, Kodak had a monopoly on the universe. So how did that empire, that industrial park that was one of the most successful business centers in modern history, turn to this? Just a heap of bricks and overgrown weeds? The answer is that the future caught up to Kodak, and they weren't interested in the future. In 1975, a young engineer named Steven Sasson, working inside of Kodak, he invented the first digital camera, right here. A crude prototype about the size of a toaster oven that was able to record black and white images to a cassette tape. But it was a spark. The future of photography was here, a revolution knocking at the door, and you know what Kodak did? Nothing. They saw the digital camera not as an opportunity, but as a threat. Why invest in something that might destroy our film business? They asked themselves. Kodak's empire was built on green paper and chemical baths. Why risk it for pixels? The company spent decades warning itself that digital was dangerous, that people would always need film, that tradition was safer than progress, and meanwhile, the world kept moving. Sony, Canon, Nikon, and countless startup companies raced into digital photography, and cameras shrank, and memory cards replaced rolls of film. People uploaded pictures instead of developing them, and Kodak's competitors took the spark that Sasson, right over here, created and turned it into wildfire, leaving Kodak staring at its empire collapsing. By the 2000s, Kodak was bleeding. The empire of light was dying in the very city that it built. Once the symbol of innovation, now a cautionary tale. Billions lost, factories closed, tens of thousands of people were suddenly out of jobs. Scientists, chemists, and engineers were scrambling for work. Kodak, the company that captured the world, crumbled to the ground. Now, why does this matter to us? Because the Yetzer operates the exact same way. The Yetzer doesn't care about your 4th grade shot in Chumash, or that you know the basics of tzitzis, or that you once could say Az Yashir by heart, or that you occasionally look at the Mishnah Berurah while putting away your tefillin. He's got new tricks, new distractions, new technologies, a whole new arsenal designed to pull you away from Hashem. And if we stay stuck in our old spiritual habits, if we cling to the one time we opened Mesilas Yesharim back in 9th grade, we're doomed to become the Kodak of the soul, a giant of potential frozen in the past and blind to the future. When we were young, we got a foundation, we got the tools. But foundation alone doesn't move the world. Innovation, evolution, constant sharpening of our hearts and minds, that's what keeps us alive spiritually. If the Yetzer keeps upgrading, then so must we, because stagnancy isn't just harmless, it's spiritual extinction. And the moment we stop adapting, we stop winning. So don't be left behind as a relic of what you could have been. Don't be frozen in what you were in 9th grade. Learn from Kodak, evolve, innovate, fight smarter, grow taller, and let your potential break through every wall the Yetzer puts in front of you. Because when you stand taller than your doubts and brighter than your fears, and one step ahead of the Yetzer, you will make your life a fire that no one, no time, no circumstance, no distraction can ever put out. Oh, and by the way, as to what happened to Mr. Kodak, he never got married, never had kids, and committed suicide. So that tells you everything you need to know.